So it looks like we have everyone here. Can we start the meeting? Will the clerk take the roll, please?
Chairperson Doherty,
Here.
Ms. Clark,
Here.
Ms. Martin.
Here.
3 present.
So this is the meeting of the Equity and Access Subcommittee. We have 2 items on the agenda tonight: school assignment policy and the new pre-K policy. Ms. Phillips, would you like to start?
Sorry about that. Sure. So I just wanted to start with the preschool policy and just acknowledge that the preschool policy was uploaded into your packet, and to see if there were any questions about the final language that was inserted.
Did anyone have any questions or comments?
No.
Ms. Clark, no? Mayor Leahy, I know this was one of your concerns, was to be able to have the opportunity to see the final draft. Did you have any other questions with it?
No, not yet. No.
Okay, so I just wanted to ask, and I know we added the line that if families are not comfortable or not able to do the online process, there is support. There's nothing in terms of like a phone number or a person to reach out to or times. Is that going to be on the website somewhere so parents would have, because this is the actual policy. I don't think it would need to go in the policy.
Right. That's correct.
But I just would want to be clear, clear to parents a path forward if they are confused or don't have the technical capabilities to do this online. So I'm just wondering if that has been, I did attend one of your presentations. I didn't get to the very end because I had a call. The ones you're doing about the online, about the pre-K registration. And I didn't see that part front and center, that, you talk about that it's an online process, and I understand that we're moving to an online process. But I am, as you know, concerned that many of the parents we most want to be able to participate in this opportunity are going to fall through the cracks. They're not going to meet the deadline, so they won't get in the lottery or things like that. So I just want to emphasize, if we can include that information, and it doesn't need to be in the policy, but somewhere up front around the information about pre-K registration, the dates and all that, I think it would be helpful for people going forward. I don't know if anybody else, if you had any thoughts to that, if that's a reasonable, doable request, or are there any concerns about that? Or
And I do believe that most of our promotional materials had that information, and because it was a policy, that is why we didn't put it in there, even though the number is likely to stay the same. But sometimes we don't put those numbers in there because changes do happen, in emails or phone numbers. We have started having families coming into the Family Resource Center. Today we had to discuss putting the table back outside because of the families that were coming in. So we do believe the information is out there, and families are coming for support.
And are you keeping, I know in the past we've done extended hours during the registration process, like one evening, or are you doing that currently? Or
I don't believe we have that right now. Dr. Duda, maybe you can share more about that. I don't believe we have that, but that's something that we can. I think we typically do that in the fall more so, but Dr. Duda, did you want to share more about that?
We have not had any extended hours. We didn't do it, well, last spring, no one was in the office because we went completely online, because families can't access the registration 24/7 now. So any families that would need support, we are working with them during our regular hours. We're making appointments with the bilingual family liaisons and the McKinney-Vento staff as well. So we have not extended any hours for preschool at this point.
Okay, thank you.
Can I, Ms. Phillips, when you say you're putting the table back out, what
Mhm.
is, does that mean that staff are available if people do come in? Is that what that means?
Oh, yes. So we've been serving families inside of the center, but what we noticed today was that our waiting areas were full, and so we had to work quickly to accommodate families on the sidewalk. We were lucky because the weather was good today, so that is something that we're thinking about. How do we make sure that we're able to provide service inside of the office? We're looking at the appointment system, but many times our families just drop in, and we want to be able to serve them as well. So we're thinking of some solutions to that, but we're not accustomed to not being able to just let everyone into
Right.
the waiting area.
What are
Thank-
we looking at in terms of total numbers of seats that we have for the pre-K program? Now, we've got the full day and then we have the half day. It's not really a half day, it's like 2.5 hours, right? But do you have a ballpark idea of what those numbers are?
Yeah, I don't think they've shifted much. Dr. Duda, are you able to speak more to those details?
You mean total number of seats that we offer?
For the
stu-
pre-K.
They have, to my understanding, that they have not shifted. I don't have those numbers in front of me, but I can get them for you.
I'm just looking to get a sense because we've got a very limited timeline. You need, if you want to be in the lottery or hope to get a seat at preschool, you have until March 28th,
Mm-hmm.
right? So we're at, what's today, the 10th. So that's going to be pretty intense over the next couple of weeks. And again, I'm concerned to get those families that our English language learners, those kids having seats in preschool is going to help them so much that they don't fall behind. They're already starting with that challenge of language. So I'm just trying to get a handle on what are we looking at in terms of, seats that are available and the kind of crunch of parents reaching out to you that you're facing in these next few weeks.
Sure, and we can get that for you. That that assignment is and rostering is managed from the early education office. The family resource office and my staff help with the operations, but we do not do the actual placement for the students. That would be, Miss Lisa Van Thiel under Chief Desmond's office. So we can definitely get those numbers for you.
Thank
Ms.
you.
Phillips,
Mm-hmm.
can you share just how the information went out to families? I know as a parent, I received an email with some links, and I'm just on the website now, and I can see you have the translations right across the top, which are very helpful, as well as phone numbers and contact information further down. But I'm just curious. So I'm obviously I'm on the email communication as a parent. So was this a blast that went to all Lowell Public School families? And then how else is that information communicated out?
Yep. So we always use our regular methods of communication, which have been email, phone call, um, social media, but we know that only reaches a certain group of students and families. But we've also utilized our bilingual family liaisons and trying to strengthen our community partnerships and getting the information out to community service providers, to faith-based institutions. This year, we also created a sign-up list, which is new for anyone who wanted to receive our emails. And we had over 200 people sign up, for this early, for this early communication. prior, you couldn't communicate with us until you started the communication process. So we said, whenever you show up, now you'll be able to get on a list where we can communicate with you. So so those are the ways that we're trying to strengthen communication, across our community.
I think it would also be really interesting when this wraps up just to compare the numbers from, for example, this year compared to last year, compared to the year before where it was really paper-based. It would be interesting to see how many families, obviously there might very likely are not seats for all families, but how many families actually did reach out and apply for a seat. So thank you.
I think that's an excellent idea, and maybe should make it in the form of a motion, Ms. Clark, because I'd like to compare from, let's say, go back a couple of years and look at the populations that we're getting in terms of that, the ELL students that we want to be in there in those programs. And I know Ms. Martin can remember years ago, we used to provide transportation for preschool too, and we lost that a while back. I know we provided for the IEP student specific populations, but not for all of the preschool.
And
So
and early childhood was a priority area for us. Remember, prior to pandemic, that was a top priority. That's something we'll be able to pick up again, because one of the things we have noticed with having that short half-day program, it doesn't meet the needs of many of our most vulnerable families. So, so we will see enrollment skew on the, you know, middle economic, level or higher economic level of our families, because it's 2.5 hours, whereas they
right.
may be looking for a full day program. So that's something, that we're definitely looking at and understanding the need for our families. And we have community partners who are doing that full day, but we want to be able to provide that as well in our system.
So would you be amenable to that as a motion, Ms. Clark? And I know Mr. Dakota has his hand up. So that would be a motion by Ms. Clark to provide us with, what do you think? Go back 2 or 3 years? I'm not I don't want to make a huge amount of work for you guys, but I think it's important to look at, the demographics, the numbers, who are choosing the full day, the part. And I remember when we lost it, we had half day at that time too, 2.5 hours. It wasn't really a half day. But what parents could do is you had transportation. So the child could be picked up at home and then dropped off at a babysitter's. So if, parents were working and couldn't, they had somebody who was going to take care of the child, and that would enable them to at least get that first 2.5 hours in a day, their exposure to the system. Ms. Martin, would you second that motion?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. And then I know Mr. Dakota has patiently had his hand up. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm not sure I heard you correctly, Ms. Phillips. Did you say, did you use the word faith organizations? Because I was thinking if you reached out to churches to let them know, and they could have their groups of within their churches to let them know this information.
Yes. And, as I think about this, we've reached out to faith-based organizations that largely serve our linguistically diverse communities, because it's the bilingual family liaisons who have been doing that. So I want to make sure that we're reaching out to all of our faith-based organizations, and I will have to double check on that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or thoughts about the new pre-K policy? Okay, thank you.
Okay, so next I'd like to transition to the kindergarten reassignment policy, and I will open the document that I believe you. And this policy is for assigning current students a first grade seat, and some of the rules for reassigning them for for their first grade placement. Are you able to see the document here? Let me see if I can make it bigger.
Yes, we can
If
see
that
it.
helps. Let
It's a
me
little small, but
Mm. Okay, so I want to walk us through the new information, which is the information in red. Okay, and so in this section 3, first there's the commitment to trying to ensure that kindergarten students who want to stay in their 2021 school placement are able to. We don't know that that'll be the case for all students, but we do recognize that for families who want that continuity, we want to try every way possible to keep them in their seat. However, in the event that's not possible, we had to put some rules into place, and we want to talk through the rules that we're recommending. So that takes us here. So in the event all students are not able to be accommodated within the rising first grade class, this is the following process that we're recommending to determine school assignment. So the first placement would be McKinney-Vento students. By law, we need to ensure their stability. So even before students who were placed in the lottery, they'd be the first ones to have their first choice. The second would be students who did receive a lottery assignment. And I do want to clarify the term lottery assignment because we use that word loosely for us because we understand what that means. That really is for all students who received an early registration assignment. And they would have been entered into a lottery if the demand exceeded the number of applications. So that wasn't the case. Not all schools had to have the actual lottery, but we call them lottery students because they applied during the period where they would have been entered into a lottery. So I think it probably would be better for us to say students who received an early registration assignment because that includes the lottery and it includes the schools that didn't require a lottery. And so those students who were notified, was it in May, Dr. Duda? They received an initial notification of their fall placement.
No, it was in August.
No, the original lottery ran in May, didn't it?
No, we didn't open registration last year till May 26th.
Okay. So the students received an assignment for 21. They received an assignment for 2021, but we informed them that that's not actually going to be your assignment because of the pandemic, we need to assign you closer to your home, which may be different. That's just a subset of students who got that assignment. I think it was less than 500 students who received that assignment. So those would be the ones who would get the second choice of available seats for next year. The third for seats that are still remaining would be the students who are currently sitting in those seats. So again, it was a temporary placement. Some say, I want to stay there now, but they can't trump the students who had already gotten assigned last year. Is that making sense? So first it would be McKinney-Vento. Second, it would be the early enrollment in lottery. And then the third priority would be students who got assigned through the temporary policy who want to stay.
Can I jump in with a question?
of course,
What does that do, like for transportation and zones and all that? So, like right now, there's a handful of students over at the Riley that may live in the downtown area, but they don't qualify for transportation. So how is this all going to affect transportation if we do this new policy?
So this is for next year, for the fall. And we have not proposed changing the transportation policy from prior years. So we have a temporary policy right now for 2 miles, but my understanding is that that would go back to 3/4 of a mile for elementary, and I believe it's 1.5 miles for the middle grades.
So can I
Okay,
ask
so
then, Ms.
are
I'm
we
sorry.
gonna, but let me just finish. Are we
Sure.
gonna start, we're gonna now, so now we're gonna start busing kids into zones where they're not supposed to be going. So are we changing the zone too?
No, this is for the fall, and the rules,
Right.
the same rules would apply next year. So
Right,
if,
but they're telling me that the kids downtown shouldn't be going to the Riley because it's not their zone, but they are. And if we change this, they will be. So how does that affect transportation?
so there's only transportation for students who qualify next year. So there are some students who were placed out of zone this year
Right,
due to space. Those students could have the option, we'll talk about that later in the policy, they can have the option to stay at their school if there's space. However, they would not get transportation. There
right,
are
but
other
these are the kids that need transportation. That's the thing I'm not getting, because these are the most vulnerable kids that they're not going to school now because they don't have transportation. And they should be in school this last 3 weeks, but they don't have transportation.
Right, so they would have the option of going to a school in their zone.
Okay, so what about now? Like, I mean, I know I'm jumping ahead, but,
Mhm.
all right, it
So-
just, I'll listen to the whole presentation. It just
Sure,
seems like it's confusing it.
And I understand what you're saying about this year's return to school. So I think I hear what you're saying about this year's. This policy is specifically for next fall. So I don't want to confuse the two conversations, because this is for next fall. But I completely hear what you're saying about this year,
Okay.
this year's students, and how will they get to school.
Okay. Thank you.
If I could ask for this policy for next year, where do
Yes, go out.
siblings fit in the hierarchy?
So we tried to accommodate siblings in the same school this year. So that was one of the exceptions for kindergarten. If you had a sibling in one school and you wanted to go there and you could transport yourself, in many cases, we did place you together. Where we may have a sibling challenge next year is for kindergartners who chose to leave the district and who want to come back. And so that's something that that we mentioned at the end of this policy, that new students to the district would follow the policy for new students to the district for 21-22. And so that's something that we need to consider in the next year's policy. Is there going to be a priority for students who are not current students? They left for kindergarten, right? They may have a sibling in the 3rd grade, but the parent chose to send them to private school or to opt out of kindergarten, but now they want to come back to Lowell Public Schools. Right now, they don't have a priority over currently attending students.
But we would, Latifa, have the option, right? Like right here in the policy, to make them like the 5th priority area.
Right, and they would, so we could put them in here as the 5th priority area. You could, but the question would, I guess we would have to ensure that they had intended to enroll in the Lowell Public Schools. You're speaking of siblings, is that right?
Yeah. So wouldn't we just have to say that, it's McKinney-Vento, it's, the ones who got into it and didn't attend, the ones who did attend and want to stay, and then the final priority in here is to accommodate siblings in the same school.
Dr. Duda, do you see anything challenging with that?
No, I don't, because we currently try to accommodate siblings anyway. It's practice, so we'll do our best to accommodate siblings if we make a fifth priority.
And they typically rise to the top, you know, even in a new policy. So they can be fifth here, they can be one in the new policy. Either way, they land in the same position.
Okay.
So shall I keep going?
Unless there's other questions, yes.
Okay, so it says here, in the event we're not able to accommodate a student through the lottery or through the regular assignment process, they will be given a new school based on the following process. So this is like the out of zone student who wants to come back in zone. We would give them, they could choose their top 3 priorities, and we would try our very best to get them into one of those top 3 schools. They would get that priority. We also want to acknowledge that there are some exceptions. So McKinney-Vento students will always have flexibility, you know, if they need stability. So that's important for families to know that McKinney-Vento does trump a lot of these other processes. Students assigned through an appeals process. So we always have an appeals process for emergency situations, in some case, special needs, get placed outside of these processes. And then number 3 actually should not be a number 3. It should just be a statement saying all first grades who register new to the district will be assigned following the 21-22 school assignment policy. But I'm hearing that we'd like a sentence in there stating that kindergarten siblings who opted for, you know, a different option outside of the district for this year would be given that final priority for next year. So the last area is out of zone placements. So because of the rostering of in-person and remote, many of our students in, is it zone 1, Dr. Duda, got full?
Yes.
So our zone 1 got, the schools got filled more quickly than zone 2. And so we did have to place students in a school that had an open seat. With it being remote learning, it was not a challenge because you could receive, you know, your remote learning in any setting. But now that we're going back to in-person schooling, Dr. Duda is speaking with families around, you know, can you get to school? And if you can't, are there options for attending a closer school that you can go to? And as relates to transportation for those students, I would have to follow up on that one, and I can bring that information back to you at the regular meeting.
I think it'd be very important to know what number of students we're talking about, because I think from the onset of all this pandemic stuff, we certainly heard it from the superintendent, and I've heard it from our staff on the street. We don't want to be breaking up those relationships. So if you have a number of students that are out of their zone because there wasn't room when it was remote learning, and now we're bringing them into school, I think we need to try, you know, get a handle on what are the transportation costs going to be to try to provide consistency for these students that they get to stay with their teachers. Do we have any sense of what number we're talking about? I mean, you said zone 1 filled up before zone 2, so what was the overflow?
I think it was a small overflow. Do you have that number offhand, Dr. Duda, or we can pull it?
We would need to pull it. It's not a large number, but we can pull that number.
But I think in any of these cases, like even the ones that we talked about earlier that are out of zone or not, the downtown kids that are now going to the Riley, because of switches we made because of the pandemic. I really think we should try to see what those numbers are and figure out a way to provide, to just be as least disruptive as possible for
Mhm,
those children and their families to get us through the rest of this year. That would be
mhm.
my hope with that.
And we would also, we say out of zone, but not all out of zone students live 2 miles from their school. So that's something that we'd want to make sure we're clear on as well, because the zone line had to be drawn somewhere.
Right.
So in some cases, you may be out of zone, but your school might not be further than 2 miles.
I
So,
hear you, but I think the
yeah.
2 mile mark for
Mhm,
elementary is
mhm,
crazy. No one can walk, no little child is going to be able to walk 2 miles, not, it, not especially with the streets and the, this, whether we have safe routes. Again, I would prefer to
mhm,
get some specifics.
mhm,
What are the numbers we're talking about? We have saved money because we've been 75% remote for most of the year.
mhm,
And I think we should be looking at trying to bring those kids into the school. And we've also seen less restrictions on the transportation. They're saying if everybody's in a mask, if the windows
mhm,
are open, I mean, I just think we
mhm,
should, but we need the numbers before we
mhm,
can really get a
mhm,
handle on what we're
mhm,
looking at.
mhm. So we can take that note, especially for the school reopening conversation. For the purposes of next year's policy, anyone who wants a closer school they can get to, they would be able to consider options back in their zone, or if they can get to their school out of zone, we want to be able to give them the opportunity to remain in that school, choosing that they would transport on their own next year.
I understand.
And
Any other questions, or can we keep moving?
Yep.
I'm not seeing anything, so, okay.
okay, so that completes um, the discussion around reassignment. So when we come back for the regular meeting, I will add the sentence that school committee member Martin mentioned around the fifth priority for siblings of students who didn't attend this year. And then I'm going to change the wording of lottery assignment to make sure that it's clear that it's students who were assigned during the pre-registration period. And I believe those are the two changes we'll be making. And then we'll make a note to bring back information around out of zone students for this year's return to in-person.
Thank you.
Okay, so then I would like to share, I'd like to move on to the broader school assignment policy for next year. Let's see here. Okay, and again, the whole reason we started asking these questions is because we wanted to ensure that we have a more equitable system and greater access to high quality programs across the district. And we wanted to make sure that our school assignment policy was not perpetuating any inequities. So we've already discussed the proposed kindergarten reassignment policy. I'd like to take you really quickly through the outcomes of some of the parent focus groups and what we heard and what we learned, and then how what we've learned through this whole very quick process has impacted the recommendations we want to make immediately for next year, and then some areas that we'd like to continue planning for 22-23. So we had several sessions where we looked at data, and one of our biggest takeaways and concerns was economic integration within our schools. So we wanted to talk to our families around what are you looking for in schools? How do you find out about school options? What's important to you? We held 8 family sessions. I think we spoke with about 80 families. They were small focus groups, maybe 10 to 12 families in our different focus groups. 4 were in English, and then we had AM and PM sessions in Spanish, Khmer, Portuguese, and Swahili. One of the things we heard about, we wanted to know how do families get information about registration, because we know that access to information is an equity issue. Many said that they heard from, well, 169 responded. And of those who responded, they get most of their information from the LPS phone call or email, but those are probably families who are already in our PreK system. Of the families who aren't in the PreK system, many shared word of mouth is how they found out. So that's why we are trying to improve on our community-based communication with organizations and faith-based, because those families said a neighbor, a friend is how they found out about that registration period was open. And that's an equity issue because, again, when we talk about early registration, people who know early get the first seats. So then we asked parents, what do you look for in selecting a school? And what we heard, we can categorize what we heard into 2 categories, 2 types of parents. One group of parent is the parent that's trying to survive and trying to get by. And that parent told us that proximity to home was really important to them. And the next part that was really important to them was transportation. Now, proximity to home meant 2 things. One, it meant I can get there fairly easily, right? But if you've got small children, you've got a stroller and the weather gets bad, all walks are not equal. And so that's something that we really want to think about when we talk about placing close to home. What is the definition of close to home? Because it's different for those who've got to get to work, and I don't have, you know, an hour to walk there and walk back with a little one. The other piece that families, when they wanted to stay close to home, they also were interested in extended day, before care and after care. So if there was a school close to home with an extended day, that was ideal for one set of families. The second set of families were the families that had less economic challenges, and those families were really basing their school selection on reputation, on online ratings, website, social media. That was the first piece. The second piece was the middle school feeder. That was a big driver for why parents more economically stable chose elementary schools. And then the third was communication and customer service with the front office and the principal. So they said when they felt they had a good experience with the school when they reached out, that impacted what school they wanted their child to go to. When we asked about special programs and how important that was for families, again, the first group of families, less interested in the types of programs, more interested in the before and after school hours, right? The before and after school care. The families in the second group that I mentioned are more interested in the types of programs. But a majority of the parents across both all of the sessions, both, types of parents, they didn't really know what kinds of programs were at a school. So they're not really choosing school based on the type of program at the school. One group is choosing it on reputation and the feeder pattern. The other is choosing it based on will you be taken care of from like 7:30 a.m. to 5 p.m.? The school zones were unclear to many families. The families we talked to, they weren't that, um, it didn't bother them to hear that the zone might change as long as it didn't disrupt their child. So there was a question around, what is the least disruption to my child currently, even though, if you have to rezone, I guess you have to rezone, but I just want less disruption to my family. And the other piece was that the website could be easier to navigate. We could have more information available on websites. And then the other piece in the multilingual sessions was that there's not a lot of multilingual staff at our schools. So even though we have the language line, even though we have translation services, sometimes families feel like it would be helpful if they had an on-site person who could support them. So I don't want to talk too much about that. So that brings us to what are we recommending for next year? And before I talk about the recommendations, which I really would like to see bigger changes for next year. But I'm going to tell you why I'm not going to recommend big changes for next year. So I do want to affirm that in order to achieve greater equity and integration, I do believe that we have information that rezoning and redrawing the boundaries is a strategic way to ensure greater economic integration. I do think that's the right direction for our district to go in. However, and I also want to mention that we do have an idea of how to create these smaller zones, which would result in racial and economic diversity. So we do know we could do this right now, and we'd know which 3 schools we would combine to ensure racial and economic balance. However, after listening to our families and after talking with some of our community leaders and community providers, we need to conduct further study in transportation and the transportation choices that families are making so that we're not adversely impacting our most vulnerable families. Because as I said earlier, not all walks are the same. So some families are choosing transportation because it will come, at the end of the block and take their child straight to school and then pick them up and bring them back on the same block, right? And if it means having to walk a mile or 1 block to put their child on the bus, then they are opting for putting their child on the bus, right? But it sounds like they would, so that's the first piece I wanted to mention. The other piece I wanted to mention is, again, the AM and PM options. And in our district, you can get picked up in one place and dropped off in another place. And so we want to make sure that we're not negatively impacting families who are using transportation to drop their child off at a babysitter or to drop them off at an after-school program. And so that could be a negative impact of immediately shifting zones and then determining who qualifies for transportation. So we'd like to study that more to make sure that there's not an adverse impact for families. The other thing that we feel pretty confident about is that the K-8 magnets are not creating the choice options in our district that magnets are intended to create. And in a K-8 magnet, your option is at kindergarten. And in a highly mobile district, in a district with a lot of newcomers, they're coming in 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th grade, and they're not being able to access the K-8 magnets. And so we do need to think about choice and specialized options it's not sounding like the K-8 model meets that expectation of choices for families, but that's not something that you can undo, really quickly and announce it for next year. Where we are leaning, and when I say we, this is like the team that looked at the data and listened to the families, that it's the middle schools where the choices start to become really important for families. It's sounding like the elementary is, we just want a great school where that I can get my child to, and they've got before and after school care. But for middle school, it's, I know now they're getting ready for high school. They've started to develop their interests. Now talk to me about technology, music, language, international options, those kinds of things. And then the last piece, given the pandemic, we just haven't been able to reach as many families as we would like to talk about a big shift in our district. And I think that any shifts that we make, we would need to have more discussion with them so that they could embrace these changes, because we know there's a lot of history in our district. And when we met with some of our community leaders, even talking about smaller zones, or, it started to set off, it started to trigger feelings of are you doing something, to us? Are you limiting our options? Are you sure that it's not going to impact racial diversity? Are you sure it's not a way for you to just save money? And I think that as you're building that institutional trust, we have to give people time to understand why the shifts really do benefit, why they create more equity for our district. So all of that said, what we do believe needs to happen for next year, we can look more closely at our school placement weights and more closely monitor the balance of diverse students, both racial and economic, in our placement. So right now we place more on making sure each school and class has the same number of students at the same time. So if one school has 4 kindergarten classes, we make sure everyone has 20 students. And then once everyone has 20 students, we go on to the next round and make sure everyone has 21 students. Do you see what I'm saying? But we don't have to place that way. We can look at economic diversity and racial diversity and place differently. At the end of the day, we're still going to end up with all of our schools full, but we don't have to fill, 15 students are full. Okay, great. Now 18 students are full. Okay, great. Does that make sense? Because that's how we're currently filling. I'm pausing there because I'm in the weeds of this, so I don't know if you're understanding as I pull you into the weeds.
We just lost you at least I did.
Yeah.
Your voice, we lost your voice. So if you
Oh.
just want to, did other people lose sound as well? No? Oh, maybe it was just me. Your voice left and then it came back. But okay, sorry.
Can I ask
So,
a
well, I
question?
can keep going. So the first is really looking more closely at the weights, and again, ensuring that we are balancing intentionally for economic diversity and racial diversity. The other thing we can immediately do is revise the placement, the lottery weights. So right now, the only weight in the lottery is siblings. We can put economic status as a weight. We can put race as a weight. We can put McKinney-Vento status as a weight. But right now, all we have is siblings, and that kind of results in our lottery schools being disproportionately higher socioeconomic. The other thing that we can do, and I'm sure you'll have some feedback for us on this one, is implement citywide lotteries at several points. So right now we have early registration. It's going to open in April, it's going to close in May. we're going to fill up the Pine Arts, Pawtucketville, Bailey. It's going to be full. So anyone who comes in mid-May, June, July, you're not going to go there. So what we could do is not fill 100% in May, but we could fill a certain percent, which leaves open seats for newcomers to come and still be considered for some percentage that stays open. But otherwise, right now, we're filling 100% whoever came early. And that kind of ties into number 4, begin the first come, first serve assignment later. 5, we'd also like to start communicating to incoming kindergarten families that the middle school feeder pattern is under review. Because again, if you're choosing a certain school because it feeds into the Wang or feeds into the daily, and that's the only reason you're bypassing some of these other schools, that's impacting our racial and economic diversity. So we really do need to rethink how the schools are, how the students are being rostered at the middle. But it's important to let families know that we're thinking about that.
I saw Miss Clark had her hand up and then Miss Martin. Miss Clark, did you have your hand up?
I was just going to ask, going back to the conversation about some of the bigger shifts and really needing more time to evaluate and study and talk with people. Is that something you think that over the course of the next year would be doable, or is it really a more multi-year approach? And
So we'd like to have something completed for recommendation by December
okay,
for next year,
okay, thank
for
you.
the 22-23. But again, we felt ready to go, right? We do feel it's the right thing, but when the transportation piece especially came up, we don't want to adversely impact families. And with school reopening, there just hasn't been time to truly do the transportation data analysis.
Miss Martin?
Thank you. Just a couple quick comments. Going back to first off with number 2, revising the lottery placement weights. Is this an opportunity where we could just replicate what we have in the kindergarten policy?
We could. So some of the challenges with new students is that we don't know them yet. And so we're still trying to figure out how do we gather some of the data, like the economic data usually happens once you're a student, and now we're providing food services to you. So we have to figure out how to get your economic data at the point of registration.
But we must get that then. I mean,
Yes.
So we could, when someone's doing their registration, we get all that initial demographic information, right?
We haven't at registration, but that's something we're talking about we could do at registration. The other piece is special education in 504. We don't always know if you're going to be a special ed student. That process may not start for you until you enter kindergarten. And that's the same for our English learners. We do know that we do know when you qualify for testing. And Dr. Che's here as well. I don't know how quickly we turn around the English learner finalized status, but if we were to include that as a weight, we need all of that completed by the time of the lottery. But I like that thinking, school committee member Martin. So we can definitely look at how we could maybe utilize those same weights.
I mean, it seems like the more consistent we are, the better off we'll be in the long run. My second question would be on number 3. So you didn't say this, so I don't mean to put words in your mouth, but what I would anticipate is so that we'd be looking at doing the first kind of round of placements, early registration in May.
Mm-hmm.
What you're recommending is that we'd fill 50% of the seats at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Then the kind of next round of registrations would be June and July.
Mm-hmm.
And that's new people coming in and new people making requests and all that. Would it be possible then to say, you came through early registration, you didn't get the school of your choice?
Mm-hmm.
Understand this, you move forward and you're going to be in the next lottery too. So that people early at least get the same option, the same chance that
Yes.
someone who's come in June and July.
Right.
And that goes again for August and then September, so that they're at least still in the mix and everyone has a fair shot. Regardless, you know, you may not have gotten it in the first one. Maybe you get it in the second or the third. Maybe you don't. That's how lotteries work. But it at least leaves some room open for those later registrations, but keeps people who may not have made it in the first round, keeps their hope alive for at least they at least get a couple more chances at it. Is that kind of
Yes.
okay?
That's absolutely correct.
Okay, that was a good guess.
It's just allowing more people into the lottery. And then
I think it's fair if you retain your chances in following lotteries. I think that's fair. Understanding that, the Bailey will fill up their kindergarten or first grade, whatever, would be completely populated by the end of that first early registration round. So I think people can understand it's a fairness issue that you're still in it. You didn't get, you don't have to take your second choice yet, but you still have these options going forward. So I think that's a legitimate argument that could be made to families that I think everyone can kind of understand and get behind.
Yes. And then for 5, communicate. That speaks to communicating the middle school pattern, but we actually would like to just strengthen communication in general. Because again, hearing from the families where they said, when I reached out to the school, depending on how they spoke to me, that impacted whether or not I wanted my child to go there. And so we really want to look at customer service. We want to look at language supports. How do we ensure that all of our environments are welcoming, at the moment that you at the first moment of communication.
So
I saw that Dr. Che is here. I'll go back to Ms. Martin, sorry. I just wanted to ask if she could update us about the English language assessments and when they actually happen.
Sure. Thank you so much. Just to respond, so I apologize for the delay in responding, but we do administer the initial placement, the language placement assessment prior to school assignment. So therefore, even, before school assignment, Dr. Duda would have already received the recommendation from our department whether the student is eligible or not for English language education.
That's great.
Thank you. Ms. Martin, you had a
I did have just one, just so I can clarify before we move on. So the key recommendations you're making, Ms. Phillips, are, or maybe you just want to rattle them off to me, but as I'm looking at this list, what are the key I know you want to go further, faster, but I appreciate that we're kind of going to chunk this out over the next, year or two or so. What would be the immediate things that you would want to see enacted right away?
So being more intentional around what we can do with economic integration and racial integration right now within the current policy, because right now we are focusing more on just leveling class sizes, but all of the schools are going to get leveled. We're not going to have an under-enrolled school. So if we can be more strategic in our placement, we can try to balance, that economic diversity, especially across our schools in the current process. And that's also looking at the lottery. That plays a factor in economic and racial balance. So if instead of just having siblings, we can have other lottery factors, we can move more closely toward economic and racial integration in our schools. And then if we hold lotteries, staggered lotteries, that also will allow an opportunity for greater economic and racial balance in our schools. And then strengthening the communication, removing the middle school feeder pattern as a barrier for why families choose an elementary school is a key piece that we can do right now. And then also just improving on the communication mechanisms for all families, the website, the information the community providers, the ensuring high level of customer service, especially for linguistically diverse families, across our schools can help us move toward greater economic, racial, linguistic diversity in our schools.
So the structural changes you're recommending would be
Yes.
introducing the new weights.
Mm-hmm.
They'd be part of the lottery.
Mm-hmm.
Introducing the staggered lottery system.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other things that will be part of this process would be kind of the education / communication efforts of
Mm-hmm.
making, just kind of getting information out
Mm-hmm.
better, stronger, faster, all that. But
Mm-hmm.
the key structural changes would be only those two. We wouldn't be looking at zone changes or anything like that.
Right, for this upcoming year. And that's largely, even though we do feel strongly that we will have a more equitable system with clustering, there are some other conditions that have to be in place um, to make sure we're not creating inequities.
Yeah, no, I think that makes perfect sense. And I think, particularly around the economic diversity, I do think that that's a critically important part of what we're moving towards. So, um, along with all the other, all the other criteria that we're judging ourselves on. But I do think that those two key structural changes do give you what I would hope would be some significant movement without kind of blowing everything up in
Mm-hmm.
one fell swoop. So I think that that's
Mm-hmm.
a measured, well-measured approach.
Mm-hmm. And there are, so this is the, this would be the blowing things up piece that we want to do more time. But again, we do believe the team does feel that that's the direction to go in.
I agree. I agree with
Mhm.
that, by the way. It's
And-
just the timing.
And then the English learner programmatic considerations, those are something that, I've really enjoyed strategizing and talking with Dr. Che about. And that again takes some time. There are different types of programs that we can implement to serve English learners. We do have a model right now that is meeting, compliance needs, but we always want to serve to not just meet compliance, but really, have the best program in place. But through this learning process, I also came to understand that some of the recommendations that we'd like to see with, with the self-contained classrooms and such, that did exist in our district before, um, and may not have been implemented um, the way that was equitable, because you can serve student, and you can speak to this, Dr. Che, but we can provide, an amazing education for English learners in a self-contained classroom if we are very intentional about, supporting their English acquisition. But if we put them all in the classroom and we kind of, ignore the English acquisition piece or don't have a strong program, it can, it can have the negative impact. It can have the reverse impact that we want. And so we want to make sure that we've set the program up properly, that our families understand why a self-contained model might help their child, in different ways. We also would need to take time to find the staff who could staff the classroom and the model that we'd like. Something we can think about, though, are the class size capacities for ELF students when we do have self-contained classrooms. And then other ways to support in the classroom when we have kids um, who don't speak English, but we have large numbers of Spanish speakers, Portuguese speakers, Khmer speakers, and there's probably a way that we can utilize their first language to help with their content acquisition and their English acquisition. So that's something that we definitely want to move toward. Dr. Che, did you want to add anything to what I've
Sure,
attempted to share?
absolutely. What you mentioned are very important and essential to establishing a very efficient and very productive, and that would be highly qualified for our English learners, because they come to us in different um, in from different situations. So we have students who are, sometimes they're coming from a refugee um, experience environment, so they need time to be able to learn not only English but also the content, because maybe they missed the opportunity to attend school when they were in refugee camp. So they definitely need a more substantially separate classroom so that we can front load um, the language development, and also be able to provide them a place of comfort where they could learn in a small group setting the language that's necessary for them to access the content, and at the same time be able to learn about the culture of their new society, their new community, because that's very vital for our students to be able to be successful and be able to acculturate into their new setting, is to be able to learn the English as well as the culture and the rooms and the rules and expectations of their new school. Those are all very important pieces for making a very effective English language education programs for our students.
And one of the things we did look at were, where are the students right now based on their neighborhoods? And so, there are natural clusters, of language. So, in one neighborhood, we see a lot of Khmer and Spanish speakers. So in our thinking, we're wondering, how can we use Spanish and Khmer as an asset, in the students learning, when we know we have large numbers of students in a neighborhood that would make up a certain cluster of schools, right? We have another neighborhood that has a large number of Portuguese and Spanish students. We've got enough kids there to use their first language to help them with content as well as English acquisition. So, and then we have a couple neighborhoods where those other 65 languages, speakers of those languages reside, and that will need a different strategy. But I think it's us recognizing that students have different needs. The end goal is to get everyone to the highest education, right, possible, so that they can choose whatever their future is. But it's okay for us to look at, different neighborhoods and different languages, and how do we structure programming to give them the best education that we can give them. So that's something that also needs a little more time to have a strong structured program, but we don't want to lose sight of that.
I think I saw Ms. Clark had her hand up.
Thank you. So your last statement there, Ms. Phillips might have answered it, but is this another piece that you're thinking we really need to take the next few months, maybe again by December, to really have a more robust plan in place for this English language program or programs that might work well in our system? And then a second part of that question would be, are there things, as you've just kind of pointed out here, are there things that can be done in the interim to kind of move us in that direction, or offer some additional supports even in the next academic year where we might not have these classrooms that are separate?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So we definitely would include this in the broader planning, for a December recommendation. as far as recommendations for next year, that's something that we can still consider. That wouldn't necessarily be part of the assignment policy, right? But when we talk about a recommendation in December, that probably would impact more the assignment policy, because then we would be steering students toward programs like if you're a Spanish speaker, and you arrived and you really speak zero English, we might steer you toward a program where you'll get content in Spanish as well as transition toward English. But right now, we may not be able to do that. And having that kind of support in moving toward bilingual programs, we also need bilingual staff. And so we do have a diversity hiring initiative and recruitment. That's something that we can put into that initiative to recruit bilingual educators who are certified to teach in multiple languages. So for next year, the immediate recommendation are the structural changes that we had recapped earlier, but to move us toward an equitable system, we do strongly believe that giving elementary options closer to home that meet the family's needs of a longer, day, right? A care provider in the morning, in the evening, we need to have those things in place before we tell families you don't have busing options to a citywide school.
One thing I wanted to mention, I know when you talk about the communication piece, which I think is so important, and I don't know if we're still doing this, maybe Dr. Duda can let us know, but I know they used to do the schools would have these, like, come visit our school events in the spring, where parents could, go and actually see the different schools. They'd have I want to think of it like an open house day or something, where you could go and have an experience of, oh, this is this school, and maybe meet the principal and things like that. Are they still doing that? Well, this year was crazy because of the pandemic, but
Well,
did they do that before?
So last year we had the kindergarten event where all of the kindergarten programs brought representatives, right, at one time. And then we also had hours set aside, and correct me, Dr. Duda, or add to that, schools also indicated when they were going to have open house hours and be able to welcome families in. And then they also had a process for, school visits.
That is correct.
But that was last year. That was new. It was successful. Like it was starting to be successful, right? And then the pandemic hit. I feel like it'll set us back a little bit this year, but we still have to figure out a way to welcome families in and let them explore schools for next year. So.
Because I thought that was a great program and a way to really introduce our families to what their choices were. So it's not merely, what time do they start, what time do they end, or, the location. But great. Okay.
So
Anyone else?
I hope it's not disappointing, because we were ready. We know it's the right direction to go. But sometimes if you move, too quickly and don't have the full solution, we just didn't want to, we didn't want to create challenges for families.
I think that's absolutely the right way to go. We're talking about a complex situation to begin with. And I think your point earlier that, access is a part of equity as well. So I think it's the right way. Any other thoughts or questions from anybody? Are you guys good? Ms. Phillips, did you have anything else?
No.
Motion to adjourn by Mrs. Clark, second by Ms. Martin. All in favor? Aye. Good night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Well.
I
Thank you. Bye.